Morning. So first thing I do is take my vitamins for the day so that way I'm all set with that. Next, I started by cutting off the hard shell on the outside of the watermelon, starting from the top, pushing all the way down the side of the watermelon. Usually I start cutting off the ends so that way I have a flat base and a top, but this time I just decided to do it that way. Next, I decided to cut the watermelon whole into big slices, really, all the way down, and then I piled them all along each other into sections. Afterwards, I separated the watermelon into 5 separate containers, which I would make as a fruit medley to bring to the beach. The spare watermelon that I had left over, I just decided to put in a big storage container and put in the fridge. Next was the cantaloupe. I did the same thing that I did with the watermelon, but this time I decided to cut off each end. And I cut all the way down along the side of the cantaloupe, and then again I proceeded by cutting it into slices and piling on top of each other. Since the cantaloupe was a little different, I had to cut them in half and then take out the seeds in the center of the cantaloupe. And when I did so, afterwards I took those halves in small amounts and cut them into smaller quarters. I did this for all of the cantaloupe and put it back in the blue bowl that I rinsed out after using the watermelon. Because of all the watermelon and cantaloupe juice that was on the counter, I just decided to quickly wipe it down before cutting up any more fruit. Then I added the cantaloupe with the watermelon in each of the 5 fruit medley bowls, and again repeated the process of putting the spare cantaloupe leftovers into a storage container. And next, I took strawberries and cut off the tops and then cut them into slices. Again, I put them into the blue bowl and then mixed it into the fruit medley bowls before putting the rest of the strawberries away in the refrigerator. Next, I took grapes and took them off of their main branches and poured them into the blue bowl. Afterwards, I poured water into the blue bowl from under the sink and just rinsed off all of the grapes. Of course, I did dry them a little bit so that way they wouldn't all wet and grow mold. Having rinsed and dried the grapes, I decided to cut them into halves and pour them on the top of the fruit medley bowls. I was going to add dragon fruit into the medley bowls, but then I just figured that watermelon, cantaloupe, strawberries, and grapes should be just enough fruit. And voila, our final product, 5 fruit medley bowls for the beach. Next, I had to pack my beach bag, which consisted of the following items. Of course, I laid down the towel first, and then I placed all of the other individual objects on top. From sunscreen, sunglasses, to a cap, a portable phone charger, a loudspeaker, and of course, chapstick. Now this is the next morning. I decided to make myself some breakfast before packing anything else for lunch. It consisted of vegetarian sausage, onions, green and red peppers, some olive oil, 1 egg, and this vegan chow slices of cheese that I actually really like. It's the creamy original flavor. And then of course some whole wheat wraps. I started by pouring at least about a tablespoon of olive oil onto the pan. I turned on the heat and allowed it to just warm up just a bit. I took out a tortilla bread and placed it into the microwave and set the microwave for 15 seconds, although I did not start the timer until I had poured the egg and the yolk into the pan. Once the heat was up far enough, I poured only the green peppers, red peppers, and onions into the pan and stirred it up. At this point, when I had the peppers and onions to my liking, I added the vegetarian sausage on top and stirred it all together. Afterwards, when the sausage was all cooked and mixed in with the onions and peppers, I added the egg on top and scrambled it up. At this point is when I would start the microwave to warm up the tortilla bread. As I scrambled my eggs, I kept in time with the microwave and just cooked until it was ready. Afterwards, I removed the tortilla bread out from the microwave, just patted it back and forth to make sure that it wouldn't stick to the plate, removed the slice of cheese that I had cut into halves, Put the tortilla bread down and put the slice of cheese that was divided into the shape of a T down the center of the tortilla. When the eggs were all cooked with the onions and peppers, I poured it down the center of the tortilla bread. Once I had all of the food on top of the tortilla, I just turned it horizontally, folded in the corners, and rolled it up into a burrito. At this point, what I like to do is add it into the microwave for 10 seconds just to melt the cheese on top. Then I took it out and it was all done. I decided to have some almond milk with some Nesquik powder with my burrito for breakfast just to keep my stomach full before it was time for the beach, since I did get up quite early before going to the beach with my friends. My breakfast with the milk, I decided to make some Caesar salad wraps for the beach for my boyfriend and I. I took some romaine lettuce, cut off the leafy tops and the ends, mixed it all together, and I decided to pat it dry just to get rid of any extra moisture from when I rinsed them off. After I patted it dry, I put it back in the blue bowl that I used yesterday with the fruit to mix up for the Caesar salad. I added 4 tablespoons of a vegan Just Caesar dressing into the bowl to mix with the romaine lettuce. Once it was mixed up to my liking, I brought over the bag of Italian seasoned croutons that I had and poured about 6 to 7 tablespoons of croutons. And then, of course, after I added the croutons, it was time for the Parmesan cheese. I poured about a half a cup of Parmesan cheese into the bowl and mixed it all together. After it was all mixed up, I put a good portion of it onto a white tortilla bread for my boyfriend because he doesn't really care for wheat anyway. And then I wrapped it up just like I did with the breakfast burrito I had that morning. Any leftover romaine Caesar salad that I had, I put into a wheat tortilla wrap for myself just so that way it would be easier to distinguish between which one was mine and which one was his. After both burritos of Caesar salad wraps were folded up, I decided to cut them in half and put each half into a sandwich bag, so that way if you didn't want the whole thing right then and there, you could have half of it now and half of it later. Once I was done with wrapping and putting away the tortilla breads, I just packed some hummus, gluten-free crackers, into a cooler with a water bottle or 2 and packed it ready for the beach. Now it was time to go.